For 7 years, Amara slept alone in a married bed. Not every night, not always, but often enough that loneliness soon learned her name. Often enough that the space beside her grew cold and familiar, like an old wound that never quite healed. She had stopped counting the nights after the 3rd year. Counting only made it worse. When Amara first married Chike, she believed that she was lucky. He was gentle, soft-spoken, and responsible. The kind of man that mothers praised and the churches admired. Takes care of his mother very well, people said with approving nods. Amara would smile proudly when they said this. At the time, she did not know that praise can sometimes be a warning disguised as a compliment. Chike's father had died suddenly when he was little, leaving his mother widowed before she had learned how to sit alone with silence. She was not as close to her other children, maybe because Chike was her only son. She clung to him the way drowning people cling to floating wood. At first, Amara understood. In the early months of marriage when Chike stayed back at his mother's house, he would say, "Babe, it's just for the night." And Amara would never complain. She gets scared at night, Chike would try to explain. You know, she's still adjusting. Amara would nod like a good wife, an understanding wife. The first year of their marriage passed gently. Chike still came home most nights. He still laughed with her, held her, watched movies with her, and they did things together. But slowly, his visit to his mother's house increased. It suddenly became 2 nights a week, and then 3 nights, and then 4 nights. Soon, Amara could predict his absences by the way he dressed in the evening. If he wore his slippers instead of shoes, he wasn't coming back. Their home began to feel like a place Chike visited, not a place where he belonged. Amara cooked meals that went cold waiting. She reheated leftovers until they lost their taste and meaning. She slept with the lights on, pretending she was not afraid of the quiet. Loneliness behaves differently when you are married. It feels illegal, shameful, like something that you are not supposed to admit. She tried to talk to him gently at first. "Can we spend more evenings together?" she asked one night, careful not to sound accusing. Chike sighed. "You know my mother needs me." And that was how the conversation ended. By the 3rd year of their marriage, Chike no longer explained his absences. He announced them instead. "I am going to Mama. There will be no apology, no discussion, just information." Amara soon learned to swallow her disappointment and pack his food in silence. Their bed became a symbol of everything unspoken. One side was warm, and the other side was untouched. She would lie awake listening to the fan hum, imagining Chike laughing in another house, relaxed, unburdened and present. And soon she started to feel like a visitor in her own marriage. On their 4th anniversary, Amara suggested that they travel. Just the 2 of us. Something fun and interesting for us to do together, she said, her eyes hopeful, and she prayed in her heart that he would say yes. Chike hesitated. "Mama won't like that," he replied. That was when Amara felt the very first sharp crack inside her chest. It wasn't pain, it was realization. She suggested they invite his mother to stay with them, but he refused. "She won't feel comfortable here, you know. It will be like she's in our space and she just wouldn't like it," Chike said. Amara suggested counseling. "We don't have a problem," Chike would say. Every solution she offered to make their marriage work hit an invisible wall. At family gatherings, people praised Chike. "What a good son. His mother is so lucky." No one noticed Amara sitting quietly beside him, smiling way too much. No one asked how marriage felt to her. After all, African marriages reward endurance and not happiness. By the 5th year, Amara's evenings were predictable. She would come home from work, cook her meals, and she would wait. If Chike showed up, she was grateful. If he didn't, she pretended she was not surprised. Night after night, she slept with unanswered questions pressing against her chest. One evening, she dressed beautifully, for no reason at all, just hope. She cooked Chike's favorite meal, pepper soup and white rice. She set the table, and she waited. She waited until midnight and then she called him. "Oh," Chike said distractedly. "I forgot. Mama wasn't feeling well today, so that's why I couldn't come." Something in Amara broke quietly. That night, she ate alone and cried into her napkin so the neighbors wouldn't hear her loud sobs. People advised patience. You know she's a widow. Just endure. Marriage is sacrifice. No one talked about emotional abandonment. No one talked about what happens when a woman competes with grief. No one talked about what happens when a woman competes with her mother-in-law for the attention of her husband. The mother-in-law never insulted Amara. She never shouted. She never fought. She simply occupied all of Chike's emotional space. When Amara called, the line would be busy. When Chike laughed, it was at his mother's house. When decisions were made, Amara was informed and not consulted. One evening, feeling hopeful, Amara followed Chike, not angrily, not suspiciously. She was just tired, and so she decided to follow him to his mother's house. As Chike entered his mother's house smiling, he looked relaxed, he looked whole and unburdened. And that was when the truth settled heavily inside her. She was not lonely because she lacked a husband. She was lonely because she had no partner. Anger followed. Thoughts of confrontation, thoughts of shouting, thoughts of fighting the wrong enemy. But then clarity came. Why fight for a space that was never hers? That night, Amara wrote a letter, not to Chike, but to herself. She wrote about the woman she was before waiting became her personality. She wrote about the night she slept alone while married to Chike. She wrote about the slow disappearance of her voice. As she wrote, she cried. And then she slept peacefully for the first time in years. In the morning, she spoke calmly when she called Chike. "I am leaving," she said. Chike laughed. "You are joking, right?" "I am not," she replied. That was when he panicked. "You are abandoning me? How could you do this to me?" Amara shook her head. "I was abandoned long before now. It's been almost 5 years in marriage. We have no kids, you have no time for me, you don't spend time with me, all your time is spent with your mother. This marriage has long been over before now." After those words, Chike started to make promises. Promises with tears and anger. "Are you jealous of my mother?" he shouted. "I am jealous of peace," Amara replied softly. Soon she was out of the house. No scandal. No issues. People whispered. They gossiped like they always do. Life after marriage was not easy, but then it was hers to live. She rediscovered laughter. She rediscovered rest, and she rediscovered selfhood. Years later, she would find love again. Not loud, not demanding, just present. The moral of this story is that marriage is not all about endurance, and love is not competition. And devotion that leaves no room for partnership is not virtue, it is neglect. Sometimes the bravest thing that a woman can do is to walk away from situations that don't nourish, feed, or serve her. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you enjoyed today's story, and see you in the next one.